accountability is my greatest strength. I'm infatuated almost to a fault of saying everything is my fault. I've also observed and aware in 20 years, 25 years of a career that most people stink at accountability. They're in love. If you're listening right now and you have employees, everything in your company is your fault. Because if John messed up, you hired John.
Yeah.
You hired John. You. So I'm very, I'm really excited about this book. I think it's going to start a different conversation. I really do see the business world a specific way. I do think I'm a little bit of a enigma because I've always thought these things and have acted these ways. And I believe that this is the first time I've been able to really put it on pen and paper. I mean, there's an example in the book I talk about of like your partner of 20 years has stolen from you.
Okay.
And my first trait that I go to is empathy.
Oh, come on.
Really? Because I lived it. We had a gentleman steal. This happened. This is now real life. I don't talk about this in a book, but based on your reaction, I'm going to give you the story.
Oh, my first would be a call to the police.
And that's what my dad, and by the way, that's what my father did. We had a major, hefty six-figure, close to seven-figure stealing event over a 12-month period. Jeez. About 12 years ago. And we're a small business.
Empathy, but how did empathy serve you?
I'll explain.
I need to understand that scenario.
I will.
Okay, all right, I'm here.
We value money too much. Let's just start there.
Fair.
Let's just start there.
Okay.
Money's poison for a lot of people.
But it's freedom for a lot of people. And you have a ton of it. And if you're telling me that this is how you got it, then I'm on board. Well, listen, but how does empathy help you with the dude that just robbed you blind?
Easy. When you have somebody that works for you for 6 years and everything's great and phenomenal, when you're first hit with the news, you react as an animal your way. My father and I are very different animals. I'm telling you the truth. I hear the news after our investigation that it is this gentleman who has been stealing. My brainy, this is real. I wish my dad, I just hope that this is true. My brain immediately went to something's wrong. Something bad is going on with him. My dad called the police on the spot. On the spot, my father called the police.
I would have done that.
And said to me, and he looked at me, he knows me at this point. We'd worked together for 15 years. And usually I would get my way because I was the driver of the business. He looked at me with red face and said, I'm putting this mother in jail and you're not gonna stop me.
I might have said the same thing to you.
And I said, Dad, I get it, because I do.
Yeah.
I go, but we need to talk to him. So the punchline is, it was a very difficult event. By the way, here's the moral of the story. This gentleman hurt his back at our liquor store, never told anybody, started taking pain medicine, got addicted to it.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so this is real shit for me. No, this is real talk now. This is real talk. Listen, by the way, everybody's listening.
Yeah,
a lot of you don't.
How does it get you? Okay.
Here's how. Let me break it down.
I'm with you. I need
everybody to hear this. I know a lot of people listening right now don't know me. I am not on this podcast look at me. I'm so nice. I don't give a on some real shit.
No, you don't.
I really don't. I genuinely don't. I don't care if you think I'm great, the worst. I am so happy and so grateful for that happiness that I'm on a mission to talk about things that I see that others don't. And I have a 25-year innovation career, whether it was the internet, social media, now NFTs. I'm really good at this shit. I really see shit that others don't. I'm telling all of you from the bottom of my heart that this whole concept of nice guys finish last, or if you're too kind, you're gonna get walked all over, is, stick with me now, an excuse for people that aren't good enough. Yeah. Now let me flip the switch on you. This is where I'm going. This is alpha talk now. This isn't foofy, like let's over coddle a generation of businessmen and women. This is the great farce of business. I believe the way we got into believing that soft things aren't good is non-winning players or not good enough were insecure and created the narrative. I'm telling you right now, it's incredibly easy to build a fucking empire and be nice. Other people have done it. I know so many people. I do. I'm one man. Maybe we don't go to billionaire status, but I know so many people that make $2 to $7 million a year. I do, me. Whether it's a law firm, whether it's a 5-store unit. I just know a lot of people who also are more guidance counselor and more head coach and more good parent and have built good companies. And I know, by the way, I also know unlimited people also who are insecure, tear down others, sharp elbows, and have also made money. But here's my point. The people that I've observed and I know and I've watched and I've done my homework on that do it the wrong way eventually burn out. They don't finish the marathon, right? They either get off the grid, they either completely check out, they either get canceled, they either really get into, at the most extreme, alcoholism, drug use, very unhealthy relationships. And many of them, if you talk to 70, 80, 90-year-old alpha winners of the past that did it the wrong way, are quite lonely, deep in depression. They've got very small friend groups, and there's a lot of insecurity there. On the flip side,
the examples I can think of are exactly like that.
Thank you. On the flip side, we don't talk about it. Back to rubbernecking. We love to talk about the bad. We don't, negativity is much louder than positivity, Joey. Much louder. We don't talk about the guy or gal who's golfing right now in Naples, 79 years old, adored, 500 people show up to their 80th birthday party, people that worked for him or her have named their children after them, and they made $29 million, a year, their last 5 years, have 4 homes, are liked by their friends and family. They exist at a much greater scale. My belief is that it's important to talk about this. And let me go back to alpha. Let me drop the most interesting part. Companies and businesses are gonna have no choice because the kids coming up have too many options.
Yeah, they do. Oh my God, you can't get good help, quote unquote.
You know why? Because the good help has options. It's not 1979 anymore. These kids are influencers on TikTok making $200,000 a year. The do you want them to work for $47,000 in a shitty environment for you for? That's entitlement. That's loser entrepreneur shit.
It's so
This is a very,
accurate.
very, very real conversation.
Right.
This is a real conversation. This is happening. I know it, and I wanted to put pen to paper on it. So I was very vulnerable in this book. This is gonna blow a lot of people away if they've ever consumed my content. On stage, on a podcast, interviews, most of what people see of me in the world, my greatest strength is candor. I mean, I get 10,000 DMs a week. I love your no bullshit approach. I'm very good at it. I get right to the heart of the matter. I go to candor. Gary Vaynerchuk, the executive for the last 20 years, struggled with it immensely. I'm anti-confrontational.
What?
Yep. If you talk, and you've been in my office, and you may or may not know this. I don't know how much you got to figure this out. I've got plenty of this kind of energy when I'm talking to the world, because I'm talking to the world. But when I talk to John or Sally or Susan or Jamal, it becomes very personal and very real. And so I always, back to optimism, I always felt that I could coach a situation out of positivity. And when I reflected, especially over COVID, because I had time to think.
Yeah.
I realized, I asked myself a very simple question. Gary, with your intent, and who knows you better than yourself, right? Everybody knows themselves the best. I'm like, why do I have any people that have ever worked for me unhappy with me? In a world where I don't value the money enough, I care about my reputation more than anything. I love people more than anything. Like, why is it that I even have people who are miffed at me, mad at me? And I was able to really get to the core of the matter. And it was in my subconscious for the last 5 years. And I had an event maybe 6 years ago where we had to lay off 20 people because of financial constraints. And the company revolted after we went from 30 to 800 people. We did a little 20-person layoff. And I'm like, oh, I'm creating entitlement. And I'm like, it's because, and I realized that then that I had a candor issue, but I wasn't ready to fix it. And so the reason the book's called 12 and a half is it's actually 13 ingredients, personality traits that I'm standing out as what I believe, one man's point of view, really matter in business. But I called it 12 and a half because candor, and now I define it as kind candor because that lands for me, is not something that I have been great at, and I'm still on my journey. And even in my journey in the last 2-3 years, I felt huge success for it. Because the way it would happen, Jillian, is that I would be so positive and optimistic trying to find a solution that the person that was on the other end of it always thought things were going well, and then out of nowhere for them, they'd be fired. Right? So, got it? So 9 weeks ago, I'm in a 30-minute meeting saying, Jillian, listen, I'm telling you, like, rely on Karen a little more. It's good to delegate. And by the way, like, you're doing a ton of great stuff. Great. And I'd go crazy and I'd be like, and by the way, maybe you want to just try a little, but I would never go direct. I would dance because my thought was that people would get scared. And if they got scared, that's how visceral I am to fear. If they got scared, they would not produce as well. They would find another job. They'd be paralyzed. What I came to realize was, and this devastated me when I became my conscious, not my subconscious. 2-3 years ago, I realized, my number one thing I'm proud of is eliminating fear. Number one. The company knows that I can't shoot straight enough, so there's actual fear because people don't know where they fully stand.